Welcome to the Jonah Drake Show, hosted by Jonah Drake. The Jonah Drake Show starts now. And welcome back to the Jonah Drake Show. I am your host, Jonah Drake, and today we've got a good episode for you. If you couldn't tell by the thumbnail/title, we have a second part of the series, rankings, the ACC Rankings series, as we will next week, or whenever we do this series again, we will be getting into the Big 12, which will be nice. But before we get into that, let's make sure you guys are like and subscribe the video. Leave a comment if you want. We'll get into comments more in a minute here, but don't worry, I know you guys want Gian to come back. Gian will be back for normal podcasts, but because we're just doing these videos by myself, where it's not really about like the sports happening, it's just kind of, some fun stuff I'm gonna do. I kind of run these episodes. So we have the ranking series today, part 2. So as we round out our ranking series for the ACC, here's what we're going over today. We're going to do stadium, atmosphere, and tradition. I know this is the only 3. Couldn't really come up with more with the limited time I had thinking about these. So if you guys have any idea of anything I could rank, be sure to leave it in the comments. And before we get into the rankings, make sure to, if you haven't watched the video 1, go back and watch that, because we'll explain some stuff more, and it'll be a good thing. But assuming you watch video 1, let's jump right in to the rankings with stadium. So you can see the list here if you want to read over that. But starting off, we have Doak Campbell Stadium of Florida State. It's just a beautiful stadium. I love the brick outside interior. It's such a big stadium as well. It really gets noisy in there, and we'll get to atmosphere later, but it also just matches the campus. Just the area, because everything in Florida State campus is built with like that brick red maroon type thing, and it's a very nice just vibe that they built around. Oh, and before we get further into this, I'd like to say that literally everything here except the Pitt Stadium, Acrisure Stadium, I have not been to any of these stadiums or seen any of these atmospheres. So if I'm incorrectly judged, that's just me taking what I've seen on the internet, what I've seen from watching games. So if you guys leave a comment and you guys have better ranking video, if you guys have been to these stadiums, please give your comments and what you think I did wrong, what you think I did right. This is just me from what I've learned from the internet, except Acrisure for Pitt, because, only like 20 minutes away from their stadium. So been to a few games of Pitt's, but never been to Florida State Stadium, never been to the stadiums that we have left. So if you have, make sure to leave a comment and kind of tell us about it so we can learn more. Next up, we have Lane Stadium, home of Virginia Tech. This gets at a night game. You see they have the striped seating where they'll have the orange and maroon, and it especially gets really loud and rowdy when they have Enter Sandman on, when the team enters the stadium. And these big, you can't really tell from the photo, but when you watch a game, you can tell these grandstands on either side of the field, they are huge. Those things are bigger than some two-deck stadiums. It's just one giant wall of fans, which is very intimidating. Next, we have Clemson, where this one is just so iconic. Death Valley, you all know about Death Valley with its noise and all of its intimidation factors, as we'll get into that. For the atmosphere, you have the iconic running down the hill where they take the bus around the stadium, get out at that hill, this grass hill, and run down it. You got the big one-story bowl around with the 2 decks on either side. It's just a very big iconic stadium. Next we have probably just by the stadium in general, probably other than Florida State, the best in the ACC, as this one, L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium of Louisville, has been claimed by, it could be, I guess, out of all college football stadiums, this one is the most likely to be an NFL that isn't already an NFL, because, like, literally all of those seats there are, chairback seats, like, there's no benches. When you look at this Florida State, literally all of those seats look like bench seats. There's not a single bench, I don't think, in this entire Louisville stadium. And they got that kind of, like, triangle seat at the top to kind of resemble, like, a cardinal. And the concessions are great, I've heard. Parking's great. So it basically resembles a miniature NFL stadium. Next, we have Kenan Stadium in North Carolina, and this one's also a little bit the outside. It's just surrounded by great, like, oak trees. You can see the clock tower from the stadium, depending on where you sit. As we touched on it last week or 2 weeks ago, the blue seats, I guess the Carolina blue seats, are very nice if you go to a game there, or if you just see it. I'm sure this stadium is very, very pretty if you go there when just to have it all to yourself. It's probably a great stadium. Next, we have Stanford Stadium. Now, this one I don't know nearly as much about as any of them, but just from looking at photos, the stadium looks like a very pleasing stadium. It looks like from this picture is what I can tell. It looks like they have a ton of seat backs. It do look like some bleachers up high, but it looks like some of these ones around closer to the stadium's seat backs. And this one, yet again, has, like, those trees. Seems like it's very nature-esque around the stadium. And it seems like a very great place to watch a college football game. Next, we have the first NFL stadium coming on as Hard Rock Stadium, and the only reason this might be the best stadium in the ACC, the only reason that it's not is because out of college you're looking for the atmosphere and the passion. This one is so far away from the campus, and it's just not that great a stadium compared to those big bowls in Florida State, those big sidelines, grandstands at Virginia Tech. It's just with the weather, kind of puts an impact on the Hard Rock Stadium. Next, we have one where the weather will never have an impact in the JMA Wireless Dome. It's just a very cool concept, the bubble-esque roof that they have there. They play basketball games here. If you've ever seen a photo, they put the basketball court right around, like, the end zone to the 20-yard line, and then they put some stands on the field, which is very nice, and then they use the end zone seating kind of here to use for the main stands. So I think it's a great concept if you don't want to build a basketball arena. And it seems like everyone's very close to the action, so that probably makes a great environment, because everyone has to be close to the action, because you can't build a huge stadium and build a dome over it. For all domes, everything has to be, like, neatly stacked on top of each other, which makes the fans feel closer to the game. And next we have Georgia Tech and Bobby Dodd Stadium. This one, you can't see it here. If you sit, I think it's, like, up in this area, you get a great view of downtown Atlanta, which is another perk. Plus, it's very unique. It's different than some of these other ones that you see with just the straight bowl around. This one, it has the U shape on the bottom, and then it's got these, like, one grandstand here, and then it's got this, like, kind of, like, almost, like, half U shape in the end zone, which I think is pretty nice, touch there from Bobby Dodd. After Bobby Dodd, we have Acrisure Stadium, followed by California Memorial Stadium and Carter Finley. Then you have Boston College with Alumni Stadium, SMU with JLJ Ford Stadium, Scott Stadium of Virginia, Wallace Wade of Duke, and the final one, a Legacy Stadium of Wake Forest. So Wake Forest has been finishing last in a lot of these rankings. So that's one thing. Maybe they're not ACC fit. I don't know. Next, we have the atmosphere. First off, we have Clemson. Back when they were winning those championships, not so much now, but back a couple years ago when they had Trevor Lawrence and they were winning the ACC like every year, it was one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. Next, we have Virginia Tech. Enter Sandman is the best entrance in all of football. You can see them doing it now. You got fireworks, you got the whole stadium's jumping, which is great for them. Next, we have Florida State. They have the tomahawk chop where they go, oh, and they do that. You can see them doing it there. I think it, especially on kickoffs, it can get, and it makes a great touch for intimidation purposes. And I know the Atlanta Braves do it. I'm trying to think who, basically anybody who uses like Seminole, Braves, any like Native American name uses this, and it originated, I think, from Florida State. I'm not sure on that, but Florida State is the most popular. I know that for doing the tomahawk chop. Next, we have NC State. You hear about the student section at NC State. The fans don't show up, but the student section there is one of the top in the ACC, if not the best. You see pictured here, they have Wolfpack chest paint here, and that's now that we get past the big Clemson, Virginia Tech, Florida State. Everything I'm doing is just basing off like reading articles, kind of, because I've never actually been to these stadiums and I don't typically watch them. I might watch a game on TV there like once a month, where I'm usually watching a game at Clemson or Florida State every other weekend because they're always in the big games. Next, we have Kenan Stadium, where you have the pom-poms, and it's North Carolina is a little bit of an unexpected school, but just reading articles is where I got to that conclusion. Now you have Louisville and Georgia Tech, followed by Pitt. Now, this is one thing I can speak to. Pitt loves to dress up. They will find Halloween costumes, and I think it just makes the atmosphere fun. Like, they had, this guy always comes to the games dressed up as Pope. You will see guys dressed up as sharks, because last year, the linebacker corps was, they nicknamed the Sharks, so people would bring inflatable sharks who dress up as sharks, throw them around in the student section. Pitt always, because the Steelers have this at their games, terrible towel. Pitt adopts their student section uses the towels, like how some teams use the pom-poms. They always have towels waving. I've never actually got a towel. I do have terrible towels, but I don't have a Pitt towel. So I think that's cool that they kind of adopted that from the Steelers. And then, yeah. Next you have Cal. You can see them there waving their towels. I think that was a cool picture that I found. Cal typically isn't thought for having a great atmosphere, but when they're winning, they have a great atmosphere. If you guys remember last year when they played Miami, I think College Game Day went to Berkeley and they were undefeated, and so was Miami. They did end up losing that game, I think, but that atmosphere was electric. If Cal gets good again, you can just see how great that atmosphere can be. And then we round it out with SMU, Miami. Miami's bad atmosphere just comes from the lack of campus, because they're like, I don't know how long it is, but they're not on campus, and it's a far drive, and it's traffic, because you have to go through, like, Miami to get there. So it's just, it makes sense why they don't have that good of an atmosphere. Next, you have Duke, Stanford, Wake Forest, and Boston College. Finishing it up with tradition, you can see the list. There we have Florida State, as they're very tradition. They've won so many national championships, and this is them back in, like, I think that's the 90s, playing against North Carolina when they would go on to win the national championship later that year. I think that was like the 1980 something. 90 something. Next you have Miami. This is them after, I forget which national championship they won, what this one is of, but they have, this is definitely a BCS because you see the diamond football there. But they obviously have that iconic one after beating Notre Dame in the Catholics vs. Convicts, which is a one that's very well known. Next you have Clemson. This photo is more recently, yes, they with Trevor Lawrence, but they have won the most ACC championships in the recent 2000s by far. I don't actually know if they've won the most all time, but just in the recency, you look at a list, it's Clemson, Florida State, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Clemson, and then there's a Pitt somewhere in there. But it's crazy, so that's where you kind of get Clemson on this list. Next, I threw in Pitt because back in the early 2000s, they were dominant in the Big East, where with Aaron Donald, as you see pictured here, I think they won a couple Big East Conference championships, and they did win a playoff. They won a national championship later, back in the 19s. I forget what exact year, but you can go look it up for yourself if you want to know. I'm sure some people know. But next we have Virginia Tech, followed by NC State, and that's actually Russell Wilson there. Just a cool thing to point out. Most people don't know he played at NC State, but he did very long time ago. Next you have the UNC with Lawrence Taylor. Most of UNC comes from basketball, but they have produced a lot of good football players. Lawrence Taylor probably being the best that I know of there. Next you have Virginia and Georgia Tech. Then you get some recent one. Louisville they really build up their program with Lamar Jackson there. And then we have the two California schools with Stanford and Marshawn Lynch at Cal. They were very dominant in the Pac-12 with Marshawn Lynch, which I think speaks to whose Cal is as Marshawn Lynch. Even though he might not be their best player all time, even though definitely arguably he is. He's their most iconic as Marshawn Lynch is Marshawn Lynch. Don't know other way to describe him. Then you finish it up with Duke, Wake Forest, Boston College, and SMU. So, thank you guys for watching today. As we have a good episode for you coming out later this week, it'll be a podcast, and then sometime later this week into the weekend, we'll, as I said, get our Steelers, Steelers, game day, whatever you want to call it, as we'll kind of showcase what it's like to be at Acrisure Stadium for a game day, as we're starting our new series, Stadium Reviews, as that will kick off sometime later this week, and then Gian will be joining us for a podcast. Don't forget to leave a comment. If you've ever been to any of those ACC stadiums, even if you've been to Pitt, because I know I've been to Pitt, if you have more thoughts, please leave them in the comments. Also, because we right now, I think, only had 7 different categories. We split up into 2 episodes. If we could get up to 10, if you guys have any ideas for, because we're going to do the Big 12 in a couple coming weeks here, that'll be interesting to hear. I'd love to hear you guys' ideas, because I'm short on ideas. So make sure you see that. Once again, if you haven't seen part 1 yet, go watch part 1. It's a great episode as we talk about jerseys and helmets and stuff like that. So if you want to go watch that now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.